Hello, ladies and gents. Julian here, and I am super excited, guys, to be with you on another Friday. We have a great topic of discussion today. We are going to be talking about the importance and the relationship between brain and gut, between brain health, gut health, brain health, vice versa. They communicate. There's a lot of links in between the brain and the gut, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. This is very interesting, guys. According to the statistics on the American Psychological Association, we have increased tremendously on symptoms of stress. So heart attacks have decreased by 14%, but Alzheimer's is up to over 70% in most adult population. That's a lot. And these all points and these all leads to stress. And about 80% of adults in the US have showed serious symptoms of stress in the last month. All you got to do is look outside. We live in stressful times. We live in a very toxic environment at times, unfortunately. So we must do our best in order to mitigate with those stress levels. And what I want to talk to you about today is about how those stress levels and how anything that really happens in the brain, in your mind, affects your gut and your gut health. All the microbiota, all of the trillions of small bacteria living organisms that help us keep a healthy gut, they get affected, guys. But I think first we should start by discussing how these two communicate. How does the brain communicate with the gut and vice versa? The communication here, the link, it's many things. It's neural, it's immunological, and it's very much hormonal. And this communication happens in between the enteric nervous system and the CNS, the central nervous system, which are in charge of your immunity. These two come together to form something that we call the gut axis. And the gut axis, it's what's going to send the signals from your gut to your brain and vice versa. So this is kind of like the highway. Of course, there are tons of neurons that are produced in the brain. We have about 100 trillion neurons. And neurons are those little cells that basically tell us how to behave and basically signal your body on what to do. 100 trillion produced by your brain, produced by your body, that stay in your brain. Interestingly, about 500 million out of those 100 trillion neurons, 500 million are produced in your stomach. Therefore, why many doctors and scientists call the stomach the second brain. And also neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are those chemicals that are in charge of our feelings and emotions. These are huge. And again, many of those are produced in our stomach. As a matter of fact, serotonin, which is a happy hormone, is in charge of course, everything that has to do with reward system, very important chemical, is produced, a large proportion of it is produced in your gut. Again, why people call it our second brain. So it's very important to maintain gut health. When it comes down to gut health, having probiotics, foods that are rich in probiotics, oily fish, fermented carbohydrates, any really oily fish such as salmon is what I mean by oily fish, not the way you cook it. It's a fish that's naturally oily. Those are going to come packed with probiotics. You want to look into prebiotics. These are going to be in charge of feeding that good bacteria that helps our gut stay healthy and not run into any of these troubles. Guys, here's also what happens when we go under stress. And this is something that I want you to understand on how much mental stress can physiologically affect you, and especially in your gut and your gut's health. The cortisol hormone, which is the hormone that our body produces when we're under a stressful situation. There is another axis called HPA, which is in charge of being the first response to stress. So whenever the HPA, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, for those of you that want to take note on that and are into the whole medical side of it, that axis produces cortisol pretty quick after the body detects stress or a fearful situation. Anything that puts under stress, you produce cortisol. Cortisol is going to affect the permeability of the lining of your intestinal tracts, meaning that it's going to be easier It's not going to be as permeable. It's not going to be as resistant. It's going to be easier for bacteria and toxins to act to break through that lining and access your immune system. You know, your CNS, which we just spoke about. They are in charge of communicating between brain and gut and your enteric system. So this is going to affect your immunity. In these times, we cannot afford to have our immunity affected. So make sure we mitigate the stress levels. We keep our gut healthy. And last but not least, guys, tons of very, very, very exciting studies are recently finding out that it used to be thought, we used to believe that the gut's health affected that your gut health was affected by your brain health, but now we have come to find out that it's a two-way street. Your gut's health also affects your brain's health, and there's a lot more studies to be done on this. Unfortunately, it's very hard to study sometimes the human brain because we can't just grab someone that's in perfect condition and open their brain in order to explore a healthy brain. Most of these studies, especially when it comes to brain studies and gut health to brain health studies, are done on mice, which again, they're getting closer and closer. But for now, take your probiotics. If you take a supplement, I think that's a great supplement to take, probiotics. You can never help your gut enough. And also make sure that you eat tons of foods that are rich in probiotics, such as maybe even some dairy products like good quality cheese are going to be packed with probiotics, yogurt, kefir, oily fish. Again, do your research, take care of your gut. Now you know the important, I mean, there are so many things going on here, you know, all the hormones, all the chemicals, neurotransmitters, they affect each other. So make sure you stay eating good, stay eating healthy, and mitigate with those stress levels. As stress is debilitating, as stress leads to illness, so stay away from it. Have an amazing weekend, guys, and stay tuned. There's gonna be more good content coming up, and we will see you soon.